Hi, and welcome to episode 25. We are with Alice Chin on the Alice Chin podcast, and today we are talking about how to win in this crazy market that we're dealing with right now in 2026.
Yeah.
Alice, let's start.
Let's start.
Where do we go?
This is a very good topic for us two to discuss.
I know, right? It is.
So, buyers, right? It's very, very tough, as you know, to win deals in today's market because it's not a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. No matter, and some buyers, when they come into our market area, they're a little surprised as to how strong of a seller's market it still is.
Yeah.
And by market, I mean, you know, the suburbs specifically. I'm not really as well versed in the city, of course, because I don't do as many transactions in the city. But in the suburbs, it's still very low inventory. We're still seeing multiple offers. Right now, we're in what we call the summer market, so it is a little bit slower. I don't know if you've noticed. It's kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yep.
But typically, in the spring market from February all the way until about Memorial Day, it is just crazy. It has been since COVID, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So where do we start? Like when you're talking to a buyer.
Yep.
And we started talking about this a little bit the other day too.
We did.
Which
Yeah.
is great because we can kind of dial this piece in, and for those people that are listening or viewing this, they'll be able to understand the process and how to actually. I think there's an art to the deal. Right.
There really is. There really is. And there's a lot of kind of components and nuances that most people don't even realize that happens.
Right.
So the first thing that we do typically, and I know you do as well, is we have a consultation, right? And then it's to do a couple of things, as we discussed the other day. It's to set expectations, but then also build confidence with a team structure, right? With the agent that they've hopefully chosen to work with, and then also the lender, right? And then kind of really, as you said the other day, to build each other up so that they understand that the team unit is super important, especially in positioning them when they're submitting the offer, right?
Right.
So we'll get to that in a second, but in the consultation, I was thinking we'd talk about like what questions we typically ask, what questions you might ask, or topics that you'd kind of go through with them.
Yeah.
And then so in our consultation, we typically ask them, so we don't just let them ask questions, right? Because then they're in control, and then you're kind of just like answering questions rapid fire, right?
Right.
Okay, so we always have a kind of a preset list of questions, and then we can deviate from that, of course. We ask them if it's the first time they're buying a home. We ask them if they've purchased previously, how long it took them, what year it was, so we can kind of gauge like what type of market it was, right? We always ask how many agents they're interviewing in total. We never assume that we're the only ones, especially today. How did you find us? Like why did you reach out to us versus any other team or agent? And then when they last purchased, if they're willing to share how long it took them, and then how many homes did they see, just trying to understand kind of their dynamic, and then if they worked exclusively with one agent the whole time.
Okay.
So it kind of, again, gives us an idea of how they typically work, right?
Right.
And then we always ask them now if they're familiar with the changes that have happened over the last 18 months or so in the real estate industry. And then if not, we clarify. Of course, we ask them for their search parameters, price point, and then we also always ask them for a timeline. Like when do you need to make a decision by? And sometimes they are nebulous and they say, well, we're not in a rush. You've probably heard that before.
Sure.
Or sometimes there is an actual deadline. You know, we need to be here by such and such a date. Other times it's nebulous, meaning like they say like, oh, we're flexible, but this is the reason. So you always want to get down to the reason as to why they're moving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the why.
Why, exactly. Yep. So then when you figure that out, then even if they tell you we're not in a rush, you can kind of figure out, well, you kind of are in a rush, you know, because this is your reason, right?
Right.
So what questions do you typically ask? Or how does the conversation flow typically?
Yeah. I like how you said that because of the fact that like you're trying to figure out the why, which is, you know, when somebody calls you, you want to understand what their sense of urgency is, because I always tell people I'll move as fast as you want or as slow as you like. You know, we never want anybody to feel pressured into making the biggest decision in their life. Sure. So you have to meet them where they're at, not control them to a point where they're feeling pushed. And I think it all starts with when we get the lead. And we talked about this the other day. You know, why do people actually use you is because they know, like, and trust. When they know you, that's great, but then they start to like you as you start to build that rapport. But the biggest piece and the biggest, I would say it would be like the biggest currency in any relationship is trust.
It's trust,
right?
exactly.
So like that's been the hardest thing. But I felt like when you take that extra 3 or 4 seconds to actually build that rapport on the phone. So what I do is typically when I get a lead, the first thing I ask is, who referred you, right? Like you said.
Where'd you hear about us? Exactly.
So I hang out there for a couple of seconds just to make sure that they understand that I know who they came from and that I'm willing to actually give them red carpet service. And I add a couple other things that, like, if I said it was from Alice, I'm like, oh my gosh, like Alice is the best agent out there. And she's the queen of Naperville. So you're in great hands. So every time I do something, like, it may sound cheesy, but all of a sudden I can sense there's a comfort level. And that's where you want to get the trust established right away. And then you go, okay, well, here's what I do is basically you fill out the free application. It's not going to cost you anything. And then we set up a 30-minute buyer consultation. And the two things you want to know as a buyer is what am I coming closing with and what's the monthly payment. And then we hang out on the monthly payment because that's what's going to stick with you after you close anyways, right?
That's true,
So we hang out there, and then all of a sudden, right after they find that kind of happy zone of monthly payment, comfort sets in, and then the handoff becomes where we give back to the agent and say, okay, they're ready to go. Here's where their finances lay, and then we get to the pre-approval stage, and that's where you feel like the magic happens.
Okay.
And then that's when we blend with the agent, and then the contract's written.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But I think that in this industry, to win an offer, the key is the relationship between the agent and the lender.
For sure.
To package that deal up, because remember you were on a panel with Dawn McKenna a while back. And remember she said the first thing she looks at as a listing is who's on the deal.
Yeah, she does. And I do too.
Yeah, right? and who's on the deal, and then what the terms are. So those are the first two things that people look at when they're looking at an offer coming through. So when they see Alice Chin's name come across, they're like, okay, we have an ace agent that's on this deal.
Knows what she's doing. Will get us to the finish line, you know.
Right.
But then it's very important too. You have a good point of who the lender is on the last page, but then also who the attorney is.
Yeah.
Because it kind of gives you a better picture of like who you're going to be working with. And sometimes I look at it and I'm like, oh no, you know, that's not good. Yeah. So again, you don't want to elicit that feeling.
Right.
But you talked about terms, and let's kind of discuss that a little bit on the contract. So a lot of times people just think about, okay, to win an offer or to win a multiple offer situation, you have to just have the highest price. That's not really the case. You know, price is a factor for sure, but there's so many other things, you know, earnest money, closing date, depending on what the seller is looking for, post-closing possession. I had something the other day where the seller was specifically asking for post-closing possession because they hadn't found their next home yet. So they needed to hang out a little bit longer, right? And then the terms of that post-closing possession, right? And then what else? Appraisal gap waivers. I'm sure you hate those.
Oh yeah.
Do you hate those?
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends. Like if appraisal gap waiver. So maybe define what an appraisal gap waiver is so people can understand it, and then we'll kind of get in the meat and potatoes of it.
Sure. So appraisal gap waiver is basically saying in a situation where there's multiple offers and the prices are getting really high up there, right?
Yeah.
It's basically saying that if the property doesn't appraise out for the purchase price, right, then the buyer is willing and able to bring the difference to the table.
Right.
Sometimes it's a full waiver. Sometimes it's a partial, you know, capped at a certain amount. And a lot of times we'll discuss with the client comparables to kind of give them a gauge. We tell them that the price that they're going to get or pay in order to get the house, and then the price that is actually maybe the market value of the house, could be two completely different things.
Right.
And then the price that they're willing to purchase it at and the seller's willing to sell it to them for could be a third price,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
So we always tell them that it's up to them, of course, you know, but we give them all the information about the comparables and the sold comps so that they can then make a decision. So it's
Right.
not always a blanket, like, full waiver. So what are your thoughts on that?
So if somebody's putting down, because I recently had this happen and the agents were super upset because it came in lower on value, but everybody knew, like,
Yeah,
the
it's
agent
gonna
checked
be-
the box saying that they were
Was it a full waiver?
not a full waiver,
okay.
not a full waiver, but it was
Significant?
significant.
Okay.
And it only came in like 10,000 less.
Okay.
Right. So
okay.
it wasn't
so
bad.
It wasn't like 100,000.
Right. And the people were putting down 20%.
Okay.
Right. So
okay.
like it doesn't kill the deal. And I think that's where people, even agents, think that, oh my gosh, like this deal is going to go south because we had a low appraisal. And all you do is you just pivot and say, no, this deal's still alive.
Yeah.
All that's going to happen is you're going to have a little bit of mortgage insurance.
Okay.
Because, you know.
Oh, I see what you're
saying. You see what I'm saying? So
Okay.
you're changing the perspective of you're not losing the house. You're not having to overpay. You're not coming to closing with more money. You're just reversing it a little bit and putting mortgage insurance on it. So if you have good credit, it was only like $35 extra for the monthly payment.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
it was really, really like just a matter of perspective and putting that on the paper
So
for the
then,
client.
would you say then the kind of the arena to have caution when we're creating an offer, right, to
Right.
submit is if they're putting 20% down or less, right?
Correct.
Because then the mortgage insurance will kick in. Okay.
Yeah.
But if a buyer is putting more than 20% down, then
No harm, no
do I
foul.
need? Do I still
Really.
need to do like the nitty gritty math to like make sure? No,
Not really,
no?
because
Okay, all right.
the loan. So I always tell people when you're looking at an appraisal, the lenders are always going to finance off the lower of the two, whether it be the appraised value
Okay.
or the contract price.
Contract
Because I've
price,
also
yeah.
had the other side too, where oh my gosh, the appraisal came in $50,000 higher because they bought.
Do I get $50,000 in cash?
Yeah. Do I have to even come up with any money? No.
And you're like, oh my gosh.
No, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
It's either one or the other, right? Great, you ran it. And I always tell people you walk into instant equity,
Yeah.
which is great.
But it doesn't mean you get a suitcase of cash. Like,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
not-
Exactly. So in this case, I think where I get concerned about appraisal gaps is somebody's putting down 5% or 3%. You know, that's where you start going. Okay, in this market, you should have a little bit of a room to breathe.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to run into too many appraisal issues in the middle of the summer. Where we start to see that is pretty much in the spring market. You see more appraisal
Yes,
issues in the spring market.
because the reason why, and you know this probably, is
Yeah.
that because the comparables are from the dead of the winter, and so
got
then
it.
there's that 60 to 90 day lag.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's like it's somebody as seasoned as yourself. You just go, okay.
Okay,
It's not as bad as what we think.
No.
Like let's revisit the numbers, and all we need to do is it's not forcing you to come up with extra money. Like if you were 3 or 5% down, yes, that's when you go, okay, we got a concern because
yeah.
they don't have the cash.
Yep.
But if you're just going with a 20% down, you just put a little mortgage insurance on there. You're still getting the house, and it just changes your payment by a little bit. And
Yeah.
Especially
And
if your credit's good.
And it's also not the end of the world. Like we had one, we represented the buyer where it did come back short recently, and it was probably like about 10, maybe 15,000, but in the price range, you know, because it was like in the 400,000 price range. It wasn't like super high price range. It was a higher percentage of the purchase price, of
Yeah.
course. And so what ended up happening was the buyer and the seller, I think they just split it.
Yep.
Which is common, but not without a lot of screaming and yelling from the listing broker. Not very professional at all. And, you know, we said to her, why are you yelling at us? Like, we're not the one that created the appraisal report. Like,
I know. Right? Everybody yells at me too.
I know, like,
It's like,
why?
wait, don't kill the messenger. Like I don't want to lose this deal.
yeah, we're
right?
just trying to help out here, you know?
I think we tend to like our positions as realtors and lenders need to have the mindset of like a pilot. And I use this analogy all the time with my team. Like, okay, here goes the airplane analogy. I'm like, well, it's true. Every time I get on a plane, I don't want to hear some frightened pilot.
Oh, no.
You know, I don't know. It's pretty stormy out there. It's going to get bumpy. Watch out. You know? I think
hang on to your seat.
Yeah, right. We're missing a wing or something.
Oh my God.
You got to have that kind of calm demeanor.
You do.
And
You have
steady.
to kind of just like,
Yeah.
write
So I
it
think
out.
that's
Yep.
key in our world, and I know you do that, and I
Yep.
try to do that. But
Yeah.
when you have an agent on the other end that doesn't get that, and a lot of times it's because that's their only deal.
Probably.
Right?
You're
You know?
right. Yeah. So then they're more erratic in their emotions, or
Right.
I don't know. So we talked about the appraisal gap addendum. We haven't talked about, so the buyer brokerage compensation now is on the contract, the offer.
Right.
So that's another component that can be adjusted or tweaked
Mm-hmm.
if we always explain if the buyer wants to make their offer stronger, right? Because it's one of the terms, many terms of their offer.
Yeah.
So if they're willing to pay part of it or a portion of it or all of it, that could make their offer stand out, And then the inspection paragraph. I'm sure you've seen this too, where you could waive the inspection. You could do inspection with requests,
Right.
which is more typical, or you
Right.
could do one without requests and just
Okay.
say, we'll still do an inspection, but we're not going to ask for anything. And then there's the as-is paragraph. So I've seen it where buyers kind of abuse that paragraph. Let me kind of explain. So they'll say, for the purposes of submitting an offer and to be competitive, they'll say inspection, no requests, right? But then I've seen it on both sides where they do the inspection and then they say, actually,
Yeah, right.
we found these laundry list of things, and you're like, what? You signed inspection, no requests, right?
Right.
So I've seen deals fall through because of that.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
seen? So what have you seen more of? Like on the contracts that come through to you, have you seen a lot more inspection, no requests, or have you seen like kind of like about even with and without?
I would say probably about, as far as what I see even.
About 50-50.
But I have
okay.
seen people go back and ask for things. Like I feel like that's kind of like one of those blanket, like, yeah, it's there, but I'm still gonna just get it in the contract and we're just gonna overlook it. It's
And
just
you're
gonna
like-
gloss over it.
Yeah, and
you
you're
know?
like, hello. Yeah.
And that to me, I feel like that there's like down in the South. So I'm licensed in a few of the southern states, and in the Carolinas they have. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess up. I don't know what the term is, but they have earnest money that's non-refundable. Did you know that?
Oh, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
so like there's some big time.
So it's not like so
money loss.
loosey-goosey like us. Okay.
If you don't pull through and honor the contract and you
Okay.
don't go to closing, it's literally you lose $100,000.
done.
Yeah, because
Wow.
it's a high demand market down there. But then it makes it more real for the deal to come together.
I almost
so like,
wish we had that. Like,
yeah, I want to say it was. I thought it was in Tennessee too, but either way, I just know it's out there, and I think that's where. And I've heard on panels before that agents they want to have a little more skin in the game with the earnest money because the earnest money you can get out of the earnest money, like you can get that back many times.
Yeah, I feel like in Illinois, 9 times out of 10, when something cancels, maybe even higher, but the buyer gets it back. Like there's no penalty. There's no, consequence.
Right. Yeah, and I think going back to the inspection piece, like you're laying it out and you're explaining everything, but do you think it's too many options?
Probably, yeah.
It's like going to a buffet. I don't know what to pick.
know.
Like the buyer's like, okay, I'll just do whatever.
Yeah, whatever
right?
you say, and then not really understanding the actual real ramifications of
right.
what
So I think there's something to be said about like not having too many options that's going to confuse the buyer even more. So and just allows them, if I just need to sign this and I can get out of it, and the agents are part of that too. Some of the agents aren't as ethical as you are. Like, well, if something pops up, it happens all the time. We'll just ask for something,
And you're like,
because you're already in the contract, right?
Yeah.
So
and again, it doesn't really work that way because then you've like gone back on what you said essentially.
Right. Right.
What about the escalation rider? Do you hate those too?
I don't mind them. I mean, I guess it's a way to win the offer. For me, it doesn't really matter as long as the appraisal meets whatever the price is, we're fine. And if they're, like I said before, if they're not putting just 5% or 3% down, I kind of go, okay, here's my consultation to that. Is that, look, if you love the house, it checks all the boxes in this market, go for it. If you're paying $5,000 or $6,000 more, in the grand scheme of things, if you love a home and it becomes a home, not just a house,
yeah,
then go for it.
Then do it. Yeah. I've heard that certain agents really hate them, because it's almost just like they're just trying to play a game. The buyers are just trying to play a game, and they're not really like serious, whereas if you say no escalation riders, then they put their money where their mouth is, and then they can't like peer over somebody else's offer to be like, well, okay, I'll beat that one. It's kind of like, I don't know. The mentality is I can understand why some agents don't like it. I'm pretty neutral, I think, about them.
Yeah.
It depends on, I always like to default to the seller, right? I explain to them, again, they don't have as much knowledge and experience, but I explain to them what they are.
Yeah.
And then they usually ask me, like, what do I think? And I say it's case by case, really.
Right.
But they have to do what they're comfortable with.
So to the layman person out there, what exactly is an escalation clause when somebody comes to you and says, hey, listen, I want to win this house, and you say, well, we could possibly do an escalation clause. What does that mean to me?
So that means it's an addendum, just like the appraisal gap rider or addendum, and it basically says that in a multiple offer situation that the buyer will beat the next highest offer by a certain amount. And then there's usually a cap up to a certain price. There doesn't have to be a price, I suppose. But for the most part, I've seen escalations be something just silly, like $1,000 or $2,000 above, and that's where it gets kind of like, that's really dumb, like if you all like, so let's say you have 5 buyers and they all like the house and they all want to submit an offer, just submit your best and have it be, what is it called? A closed, book, kind of closed, sealed envelope bid, right?
Yeah.
All separate. So I would say that it's, in that sense, I would prefer it in some instances where everybody just gives their best.
Right.
And that's it. And don't play games. I think a lot of agents feel like it's like playing a game. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, like, when it comes to escalations, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is your side of the business, right? Like, I'm just a fly on the wall at this point while I'm waiting for the deal to come across.
Yeah.
Is there a deal? Because here's what happens with me is I have a consultation. I know the client is putting in an offer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then usually what the market has gotten to recently in the last 12 to 24 months, listing goes on the market on Thursday.
Yep.
And then there's a waiting game because they want to make sure they get the listing side wants to get highest and best.
Yes.
Which means that they're kind of waiting for the market
they're
collecting their fish, right? So they're like wanting more and more people to put offers in on this home, and then you're sitting there with the first person that goes out there, their early bird gets the worm, puts an offer in, and now all of a sudden there's a trigger because now we have an offer and the agent plays that.
Yeah.
And I'm not, that sounds bad to say,
no,
but
that's just the
you're
fact
working,
of business.
you're working
on behalf of the seller.
On the behalf of the seller. But then there's a waiting game for the initial buyer and go, okay, I don't know if I can get this.
Best or whatnot.
Yeah. So like my thought, I don't like playing games either. So if I was putting in an offer today, my thought would be like, okay, well, I'll give them my highest and best if they make the decision on Friday.
Yeah.
Versus waiting all weekend and then I lose a deal and then I have to go back out on the street.
Yeah.
So what would you, like, what are your thoughts there with that? Like the waiting game, I guess.
The waiting game, yeah. So unfortunately, we're not in the driver's seat when we represent the buyer, so, at least in the current market.
Right.
So, I mean, it depends on what the seller decides to do. But I have been on the side of the seller where we explain to the seller, like, yeah, you could wait, but then you could also lose out, on this offer that is really, really good, whatever it is,
Right.
And we've had something like that actually just happened recently on the list side, where we were just on the market, I think, for 2 days, and somebody submitted a crazy, insane high offer cash.
Oh gosh.
But it's the only offer we had so far.
Yeah.
And then we had showings lined up for all day Saturday, all day Sunday.
Oh no!
All day
there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
So what we ended up doing was we told the seller, I said, well, you have a couple choices. I think you should just accept this. This is like too good not to accept, It's cash, and it's like X amount above, like way above anything that we thought. And I said, but you could continue showings. I mean, but you might lose this offer. So then they thought about it for like an afternoon or an evening. I forget what it was. But then the next morning, they were like, yeah, just cancel all the showings. I mean, we'll just take this. Okay, good choice.
Yeah, very good choice. Very wise decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a situation like that, it should be hands down. Like, I just know if I was selling my place today and somebody came in like that and gave me an offer,
Just
why?
kind of knocked
why
you over. Yeah, like, why? Why play games, right? Just be done with it.
Here's a perfect example. My mom's 80, well, at the time she was 84, 83. She was selling our childhood home in Niles, Michigan, which was not a very strong market. And she was like, I'm praying for family of 3 boys because I raised 3 boys in this house. Guess what comes across the lawn
3
like
boys?
a day later? Yeah, a family with 3 boys.
Wow.
And I was doing a loan, and I go, okay, Mom, this is perfect. Your prayers are answered. Uh-huh. She gets the contract signed, then she goes, do you think I should have asked for more? No. She gave you the price you wanted.
Oh, my gosh. She
started
funny.
getting a little greedy.
Yeah, she started getting a little.
We got the deal done, but it's like that's a mindset.
Yeah,
Everybody wants that extra $1,000 or $2,000 and what ifs, and you're like, as a professional, that's why you work with people like Alice, because they know the system, they know the art of the deal, and you want to make sure you're with a seasoned person that knows that, like how to win a deal.
There's a lot of different components. So we've talked about inspection, price, obviously, closing date, financing, earnest money, appraisal gap, addendum, escalation rider. We haven't talked about a few things left. Post-closing possession, and property tax proration, and I think that's it. So we could start with post-closing possession. So have you seen that a lot?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's been, I think it's kind of like the appraisals. Appraisals start off a little sluggish at the very beginning.
Yep.
And then they kind of even out because of the market.
Because of the market time,
right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, as we're seeing a summer shift, we're starting to see more post-closing
possessions, yeah.
That's what I feel.
So have you seen them on the contract? I'm just curious. Have you seen them more as like free still, complimentary, or like still a per diem? Or
I think it's a combination, but more so, I think I haven't seen too many free.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, because I was like, just feels like I think I'm seeing like half and half. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily free, but not like the full amount of the buyer's PITI. Like maybe like halvesies,
Yeah.
Which before, though, I was seeing a lot more free.
Oh, yeah.
Like last year, the year before. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I feel
here.
like the market's moving towards
kind of leveling off
different
just
directions.
a smidge.
Just a smidgen.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is from the lending side, agents and lenders and buyers and sellers need to understand this, is that there's a certain point where you can't have too long of a post-closing possession.
Correct. I was just going to mention that.
Yeah,
right?
so you have to give it 60 days is the max, because then it turns into, okay, we're getting into like almost like an investment property, and then it becomes fraud for profit, all the other stuff, all those scary terms pop up.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that there's a 60-day. Whenever I was trying to buy, when we were looking, 6 years ago, the sellers go, we want to rent back for 6 months. I go,
what?
Why? They had a pool. Anything could happen. I'm like,
yeah.
That doesn't make sense. I'm not going to do that. So then they wound up going with somebody else that was able to do that. But that was still breaking the agreement between them and the lender, if there was a lender.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because you have to have 60 days. You have to have that person move into the property.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
So I've definitely kept that in mind, the whole 60 days.
Yeah.
I don't think I haven't had a rent back for more than 60 days.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was a weird one. That was like an anomaly. I'm like, 6 months?
6 months? Yeah.
What's going on here? Why did you put your house on the market?
Something suspicious is going on. That's why.
Totally. Yeah, right.
And then property tax proration. So I know it differs depending on the county that you're in. I know, like in the city, it's more often and common to find 110%. I know, like in DuPage and Will County, it's more like 105%. In Kane County, I think. I've encountered certain situations, they're rare, but where the buyer wants to gain even that extra edge, and then they ask for me to calculate, well, what would it look like if I put 0? What would it look like if I put whatever it is, not even 100%, right? Like 0. And I was like, well, that would change things a lot, actually. And then, I end up doing the calculation for them depending on what the tax bill is, et cetera, right? And it's actually smart if they know exactly what it is that they're doing, because in Illinois, as you know, property taxes are paid in arrears.
Right.
So they're not going to be getting that bill anyways until the following year. If they are getting a mortgage, though, they're going to have to front that money. So I do tell them that, right?
Right.
So that they know then how much. And then I'll ask you, for example, okay, how much do they need to prepare and plan for, right? Like if they put 0 in that spot, right?
Correct.
Because typically they would have gotten the money from the seller.
Yeah.
So that has won me deals.
That's a great negotiation tactic. I like that.
It is very different. Yeah. And so then it's basically playing around with all these different terms. And then the last and final piece is what we write on the last page, right? Who the lender is, who the attorney is, right? And then how we present the offer. So I can't tell you how many times I've heard from agents complaining about like they just email the offer or they get the offer sent to them via dot loop or like embedded in like another, I don't know, something else that the listing agent has to like download or my favorite is when it's in like 50 different attachments. And you're like, can you just submit it into one PDF, you know?
Right.
So we have a very structured way in which we present offers. So we have a template email that kind of goes over, like, thank you so much for, your time and helping us craft this offer, listing agent. Here are the details of our offer. And then we bullet point everything so it's nice and clean, ready for them. We submit their financials, their pre-approval. We actually put in there the contact information of the lender, and then we say he is expecting your phone call, right? Please feel free to reach out. And then we also, because this went out when sellers, remember when like the love letters went out, right? Because you can't.
Thinking that if you could see the bubble in my head, it was
you just
can't
do that anymore. So instead of that, I kind of squeeze in there in my email, right? A little bit about the buyer. I know, I cheat.
Well, you got to present. I mean,
you got to present it. I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Well,
I don't write a whole story. I mean,
well, to kind of go off of that, right? Like I literally had a seller call me and said, "Is the buyer like? Are they nice? Like." They're asking me a personal question about the buyer because they love their neighbors.
Yeah,
they wanted to put somebody
exactly
would not cause a problem in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yep,
exactly. So I tell the listing agent, just a little bit about the buyer, like where they're moving from, a little bit about their dynamic, and then I circle it back to the home itself. What do they specific? And I'm very, very specific. What do they like about the home? Why do they love this home? Right. And then the offer, and then that's pretty much it. And then I send the attachments. Then I send the email, but then I always call and text. I know it's probably overkill, but
I don't think that's overkill at all. I
call and text the agent as well. Yeah.
I heard. Well, we were talking about this on the last episode, Larry, when he was talking about somebody that was doing exactly what you're doing. He looked at that person as being, he's like, I know that if that person's being a pain in the, tail, like up front, and they're hounding me, I know that I'm going to be able to pick up the phone and get a hold of them when something goes wrong on sideways because they've been so proactive at the very beginning. So there's a lot to be said about the agent packaging the deal perfectly, having the loan officer.
Having it legible. I had one last week.
Oh, gosh, really?
Yeah, I had one last week where it literally, I was on the list side. The offer came in. It looked like the offer had been run through a fax machine 50 times. And then, I kid you not, I think the person whited things out.
No. They still have whiteout? You guys?
And then it looked like he stomped on it like another 10 times. I'm like, what? Dude, what did you do with this contract? It was not legible. And then I had to even ask, there were parts missing from the contract. So I asked the attorney, I'm like, is this okay? Like, do you need me to? He was laughing. He was dying.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was terrible.
With all the technology today, too.
No, I think it was a fax machine.
It was a fax?
I'm pretty sure it was a fax.
There's a fax, and there's faxes. Yeah, I don't think I have a fax number. I think I do, but for whatever reason. Yeah, wow, it just says, like, I think, you have to, it's almost like an interview process, right? When you're a buyer in today's world.
For sure.
So you're interviewing to be the buyer of it. So like if you're working with an agent that does that, just think of and the buyer doesn't even know.
Yeah.
So I had an agent that this buyer's been looking for 2 years. They finally found the home.
2 years?
2 years.
Okay.
Probably even more. She just texted me the other day and goes, what are the rates? And the agent, I feel so bad. Like, we talked about this before. You don't want to step on toes with people.
No.
But I'm ready to pull her off. I go, can we talk about this? Because the agent is literally not doing you a service.
Oh, no.
Because she didn't even call me to let me know that she put in an offer. And I told her, I said, listen, you have 20% in the bank. Let's put 20% on the terms because that's going to look better and that's going to put you in a higher...
in a better position. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and whatever you show up to closing with, I know that some agents have a different opinion on this, but if you have the money in the bank, I would put that on your terms. If you show up with 10% down just because of change of circumstance, it was better for you to put that money in the market or whatever, that's completely fine. As long as the deal goes through, but it wins you the offer, why don't you do that?
Just do it. Yeah.
But I think and she didn't want to do that. She didn't want to put 20% down. I'm like, I'm not lying about her cash. I'm saying that she has this and then she wants this house. So win the deal for her.
Yeah.
You know? And she wasn't
She
doing
wouldn't
it.
do it.
And then she didn't call me to let me know that she even put in the offer. So I had no
You had no idea.
I had no skin in the game to actually try to help
Try to
add value to the
and help them. Yeah.
you know, because you even mentioned this too. You send the email back to the lender to let them know, and also the agent that my lender's waiting for you.
Yeah.
Well, I like to go take it one step further. Be a part of your extension of your team to say, Alice is texted and called. I'm going to follow up with a call. I also text with a 5 or 6 bullet point section that says, here's the reason why your seller should listen to this offer. Non-contingent, conventional, can close anytime. We've collected all the documentation. Alice and I pride ourselves on keeping deals together.
And it sets the stage as to how the transaction's going to feel.
Yes.
The rest of the time.
You got it. I mean, it's the art of the deal. It is truly the art of the deal in today's market. And I also try to joke around too. You know, if it's on a Sunday, for example, and I'll always say by the way, I'm still working. If you have any questions, I'm not a part-time loan officer, you know? So call me, text me, test me. You know, It's one of those things where call me on a Sunday. I'll answer the phone because I couldn't get a hold of you. I'm texting you on behalf of that.
Yeah,
you know?
makes sense.
For a while there, I was actually doing a GIF where I come across the screen and I'm doing one of these.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Just to get the attention because if you're 20 offers deep and, there's all these other offers, you don't know what other people are doing.
That's really hard. Yeah.
So question for you as a listing agent.
Yep.
And I've actually seen this before, but I don't think a lot of people know this. When you get multiple offers, how do you, is there a spreadsheet? And do you check off those pieces that when you put an offer in as a buyer's agent, do you check off to say that, okay, that lender called me, this person put in a pretty crappy offer with footprints on it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, yes, we do have, to answer your question, yes, we do have a full spreadsheet. I created it, when we started having multiple offer situations. And so, it's just a spreadsheet and it itemizes every single one of these terms that we just went over, okay? And then it also has a column, you'll love this, it has a column for who the lender is, do we know them and trust them, okay? And who the attorney is, and do we know them and trust them? And so if they've left those two categories blank, then you've gotten 0 points in those categories.
Yeah.
And so we actually have a point system. It's really funny.
Really? A point system for that?
It's a point system. So I forget how many, columns? Yeah, I forget how many columns we have exactly, but yeah. If a contract is half filled out, that's not good. That means you probably have an F, in our grid.
Yeah. It's like you're grading papers.
Yes, pretty
right?
much.
Okay.
And so then we total up the points, and then we do all of that work, and we create the spreadsheet before we talk to the seller. So we usually schedule a time to talk to them via phone live, and then we'll go over everything with them one by one, and then we'll say, now we have this grading system, okay? By our grading system, these are the top 3. And then these are the differences, and what do you think? And we just talk about it, yeah.
Wow.
But it's easier to do it that way than to just have 20 different terms and then comparing between the term. It's too much, yeah.
I think we should get a shot of that. If you have it, send it to the guys, put it on there because I think it's because when I saw that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool to actually see First time I've seen it, it was like I was the one where I had the appraisal issue. The listing agent was trying to argue the value, and so she sent over the sheet, and I looked at it, and she was a little upset about setting it. I don't know why she was, but I thought it was pretty interesting for me to see that. Oh, I actually called, so I was part of that win of the deal. Like you don't, and I'm not trying to say, oh, it's me that's winning the deal.
Oh, she had like a spreadsheet.
She had a spreadsheet, and I saw that the other loan officer did not call. Or I saw the other lender and who it was. So I'm looking at it, and I like data, so I'm always looking at why things are working the way that they're working.
Yeah.
But it said there was no check mark, but it did have a check mark for me calling. So I'm like,
you got the point.
I got the point. I got the A or B, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever it is, yeah.
But that just makes everything come together. So if you're listing as a buyer or a seller for that matter,
there's so many different aspects to consider. It's not just the simple fact of strongest, highest price. Yeah, it isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
okay. Well, that is awesome. I think we wrapped it up. I mean, anything else you want to add to that?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Just no more sloppy contracts from agents.
Please don't run it through a fax. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you on the next time. This was really good, Alice. I think that this will give a lot of people a lot of information, and hopefully we'll have a buyer consultation coming right around the corner with you.
I think so.
And we'll make sure to win your offer.
Sounds good. Thanks, Phil.